Kenny, I think we got a new segment, right? No.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
New segment. Here we go, guys.
That's right.
Are you ready?
What's the new segment?
It's called the Hot Three.
Okay.
All right. It is the 3 hottest topics from last week's sports world. All right. Looking forward to hearing y'all's
I dig it.
Input, y'all's thoughts into all this. So number one, obviously, we've kind of hit it and beaten around the bush a little bit this whole entire episode. But it was the NFL Divisional Playoffs, man. It was a good weekend of football. What are y'all's thoughts on the Giants versus the Eagles and the
It was a
Cowboys
it was a
versus-
like okay, seriously.
The Niners.
Yeah. It was a disappointing divisional weekend. Like
Okay, Cowboys.
No. I'm looking at this objectively.
Okay.
We'll get into Cowboys talk, but like divisional weekend in the NFL is known as like the best weekend in football.
Right.
And it typically always delivers. And it just did not land.
I don't view it that way.
You don't?
I
What do you think the best weekend in football is?
No. I think it's fine. I think you
Okay,
can call that
okay.
the best weekend in football. Whatever. That's fine. Jags Chiefs thought was a pretty hotly contested game. Jags in the end of that game just fumbled away their opportunities and
Right.
threw an interception, and they wasted 2 opportunities in the fourth and one close. And there was a little intrigue because now Patrick Mahomes is hurt, and you're following that storyline.
Yeah, but that's just kind of what the game became made about, though.
Right,
You know?
but Chad Henne changed that game on a dime
did.
when he went
He
98
did.
yards down the field.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed it as a whole, man. And then
I mean,
Giants Eagles did fall flat,
Blowout.
but it also showed that the Eagles are
legit.
them,
And the Giants
and
were
Jalen
not.
Hurts is him, and Kenny Gainwell, by the way, is him. 12 rushes, 112 yards,
112
and
and
TD.
a tud. Yeah.
So like I even though that was a blowout and it fell flat, I like to see the number 1 seed in the NFC assert dominance before they get into a championship game
Yeah.
against another good 49ers team. Like that's
Typically,
That
at
means
least
something to me.
At least 75% of the games were good, and we only got 2 good games.
yeah.
Bengals Bills was not a good game.
But then there's another storyline with that where it's like
Okay,
the
but
Bills.
storylines are different than good games.
Okay, I
And there
understand
definitely
that.
is a storyline.
But to
That
see
Joe
Joe Burrow.
speaking of him, Joe Burrow.
Yes, Joe
is
Burrow
him.
going into. I heard someone. I think it was Max Kellerman call him Snow Burrow, but I thought that was a little corny.
Yeah, that is.
Cool wordplay though, I guess. If I would have thought of it, I would have
You would have thought it was cool.
thought I was pretty sweet for that. But anyways, going into a snowy situation in Buffalo and just whooping the hell out of them.
Yep.
And I thought that was, even though 27-10, Bills were out of it in the fourth quarter, just you knew it was over. I thought that was fun to see the Bengals assert dominance like that. And also, on the other hand, we're going to have to talk about the Bills, man. They need to stop being so damn soft in the trenches.
Yeah.
They're going to die in every single playoff game they play deep into the playoffs.
Because they can't run the
Because
ball.
they can't run the ball, and defensive line-wise, they don't have enough up there to really beef up with anybody
is
else.
wild when you think about it, because they've put so much draft capital into that defensive line.
But you think about these guys. Ed Oliver's smallish.
Yeah.
And that's tough. He's going to get run
AJ
off the
Epinesa.
ball. Jordan Phillips got hurt.
Yeah, but
and
I'm talking
stuff,
about draft capital.
Right, yes, yes, Greg Rousseau. Like, they have done
Boogie
that.
Basham.
Yes, but it's a lot of edges. They're edge heavy.
Edges and Ed Oliver. But I mean, that's a
they're
lot of capital.
But like they spent a lot of draft capital on playmaking defensive linemen and not just the beefy dudes that on first, second, and third, first and second down that make it happen for you.
Nobody invests much draft capital into those guys unless you get a Jordan Davis.
Dexter Lawrence, solid with the Giants.
Yeah.
Like I think there's a need for those guys.
I agree. I think a 1 tech and a 3 tech is 2 of the most
And at least
important
go
positions in
get
football.
some guys. And I think that was the issue with the Cowboys. Defensively, they were great, but D tackle, they had to go trade for Jonathan Hankins in the middle of the year. Like you have to have those guys, whether it's a free agent or spending draft capital on it. Maybe less on the draft capital, but go get somebody.
You got to have dudes that can stop the run.
that can ball for you in there. And
yeah, because Buffalo,
the Bills don't have that.
Buffalo got ran over at will by an extremely beat up offensive line.
Yes. And Joe
Extremely
Mixon
beat up offensive
bald. And
Yeah.
that's sad, man. That's sad because the Bills were the Super Bowl favorite going into the year.
and for the majority of the year.
I just looked at the Bengals and I said, that's that's a better built team for the playoffs.
Yeah.
Josh Allen, we know his turnover woes and all that all those issues, but I feel like if they had a run game, that would sort of cut in half. That alleviate so much for him. He can't be your leading rusher every time out.
Yeah, I agree. He was off in that game though as a passer too. He missed some pretty routine throws. Can I say this?
I don't think he was the issue. I don't think he was the issue.
I wouldn't say he was the issue, but he didn't have a Burrow or Mahomes type performance where he Supermaned them. You know, where everyone else was off and he kind of lifted the team up. That didn't happen.
But and I know it's a lesser opponent, but Chiefs still won without Patrick Mahomes being in there and playing a
quarter,
playing well.
Yeah. Right.
Like he couldn't move around in the pocket. He didn't make those off schedule scramble drill throws that he
had
normally
to throw
does.
A touchdown on one leg.
Yeah,
he's nuts.
But the Chiefs, I think, have a good enough offensive line. Chris Jones on defensive line where they can get away with certain things, and they have a different mentality than what the Bills have. Bills don't have a plan B. If Josh Allen, like in playoff football, obviously running the ball and stopping the run, but if you have a positive, an overwhelming thing that you do well, what do you try to do if you're the opposing defense? You try to alleviate that and make sure that doesn't bite you.
Yeah.
And for the Bills, if you stop Josh Allen, you stop the Bills.
That's it.
So
that's the key.
If you keep everything in front of you, I mean, that's brutal stuff. And like the Bills, like those championship windows open and close fast.
Yeah.
So you got to get it figured out fast now.
Yep.
All right, sore subject.
Yep.
Before we move on, we'll be quick. It's fine.
Yeah.
Cowboys. 19-12.
Squandered it.
Dak was stinky in that game, brother.
Yeah, and the thing is that I don't think Dak is the biggest reason that we lost that game necessarily. I think just the overwhelming amount of mistakes as a team are the reason that we lost that game.
Can I say this too? I don't think Mike McCarthy should be taking as much smoke as he is right now.
I agree.
For some of the late game. The punt at the end, I was okay with. They should have gotten on the field quicker. But I was more incensed with that punt, 4th and 5 in the third quarter from the 49ers 40.
Yeah.
That punt you should be mad about. But even then, it was 9-9. You saw how the game was going.
Yeah, that one made sense.
Mike McCarthy should not be catching as much smoke as Dak and Dalton Schultz. And that's just. I feel like it's low hanging fruit that people want to pick apart and they want to push that button, game management. When in reality, I thought the game was managed fine.
I did too. But I mean, here's the things, right? So Kelvin Joseph forces a fumble on Ray McLeod on a punt, field goal.
Yeah, next to nothing out of it.
I think our next possession, or maybe two possessions later, or maybe I may be wrong here, but Dalton Schultz dropped one and CD dropped one. I can't remember if that was the field goal drive or if that was I think that might have been the 4th and 5 punt drive. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that was the one where Dak hit CD for 45 to midfield and then it stalled out. Schultz drops one on first down.
Not a good thrown ball to CD, by the way.
No, it was underthrown.
He puts it out in front of him. It's TD.
Yeah. But Schultz runs it out on, I think, first down, hits him right in the hands for like 11 or 12 yards, drops it, and then Dak comes back with his best throw of the game, the one down the seam to CD. Fred Warner is a freak, by the way, an absolute freak. But the ball was perfect. It hit CD in the hands.
Other seam?
Huh?
See the other seam?
T.Y. Hilton would have scored. But you got to understand the read. You got to understand the read as a quarterback. Even if
he's throwing it at CD, I get that. Right. But damn, man.
Yeah, no, T.Y.
would have walked into the end zone.
Yeah, agreed. But still, it hit him in the hands. It hit him in the hands. Here, let me finish my spiel here. So those three, and then Trayvon Diggs drops the easiest pick of his career.
Yes, I'll agree with that.
And then holding touchdown.
Yeah. And then at the end of the game, Kevontae Turpin catches it inside the 10.
Right.
By the way, Dak
speaking of Kevontae Turpin, how did he not score that kick return?
He ran right into the kicker.
He goes anyway. If he breaks it left, he's gone. If he breaks it right, he's gone. But he ran right into the kicker.
It was a good return, though.
It was.
Make something happen.
It was, but I'm just saying, like, those are things that lose you games. Dropping interceptions, dropping your first downs, big time penalties in big time situations, 3rd and 10 inside the red zone. All these things lead to losses.
I'm going to say this, and I feel pretty solid about this, and obviously it depends on what's surrounding him. I think, by the way, something became evident to me once Tony went out, because, by the way, prayers up to Tony. I hope that He broke his left fibula, I believe. Hope that all works out for him and he gets tagged and just bad timing for all that to happen. But once he went out, I was sitting there like, why did they move on from Amari Cooper? This is a guy that they could have used. Another go-to guy for Dak to push the ball to. They didn't have that. And Michael Gallup was nowhere to be found. Yep. And I'll say this about Dak. I don't think if you're basing it off plays that he needs to go make, I don't think you can win a Super Bowl with Dak. If you're basing it off of that team they had this year with a solid running game, decent offensive line, I just don't think that you can go win a Super Bowl with him because I think he shrinks in the biggest moments.
I think he's got to have more weapons around him to amplify his game. If that makes sense.
I agree with that, but we've seen that and it still didn't quite work out. He still makes some bonehead decision and shrinks in the moment.
You know how it is. You know how fluctuant the NFL is depending on the team you got. Like Dak's never had good defenses until the last 2 years, and last year's defense was pretty fake, and we all knew that.
This year's wasn't.
This year's no. That's what I'm saying. This year's wasn't. So
and he shrunk through 2 picks, awful picks, I may add.
The second one wasn't awful.
He threw it into double coverage.
Yeah, but you think
he's trying to force it.
No, think about what was happening in the moment, right? So did you see the coverage? They got Tampa 2 and Fred Warner's bailing straight down the field, right? So
and then he came.
Listen, just listen. So you've got with CD's running a drag with an option. It's an option drag where he can sit down or he can keep going. So it looked like he was going to keep going on the drag, and I think he kind of started to sit down. Fred Warner's bailing. 6'7" Eric Armstead is right here. Right? So Dak's line of vision is Fred Warner bailing, and he's throwing. He never saw Jimmy Ward sit in that zone. I'm just saying. I'm not
a shrinking moment. Like
I am not
can't
one,
make that mistake in playoff football.
No, I am not one to make excuses and be like everyone's against Dak. But that one I saw more.
And then I'll also say this: egregious sack to take in that situation where you forced Mike McCarthy's hand to punt. And then the final thing I'll say, T.Y. Hilton. You got to hit T.Y. Hilton walk-in touchdown.
I agree.
So
I agree. Yeah.
That's where I'm at with the Cowboys right now. They have some soul searching to do in the offseason.
Absolutely.
Bills do too. A lot of teams
free
do.
agents.
That's this time of year.
Yeah.
All right.
That was a long number one. Sorry, Kenny.
Number one. No, that was good. I enjoy hearing y'all talk football. It's a lot of fun. Second is this. Obviously, this hits home in Memphis. You know, the Memphis Grizzlies, NBA franchise. One of the best players in the game right now is Ja Morant. And one of the most loved Grizzlies is Dillon Brooks, and they were in LA this past week. And I know we're a little bit late on talking about this. We haven't obviously had a show since all that went down, but wanted to talk to you guys not just about the LA game, but about the sideline conflict, argument, whatever it was between Shannon Sharpe of Fox Sports 1 and Dillon Brooks, and really the whole team. What are y'all's thoughts on that? And especially even today, Shannon Sharpe came out with an apology, but just kind of full scope of everything that went down. What are y'all's thoughts on that?
So I want to preface this by saying I think the apology was fine. I think he had a little bit of a backhanded comment about, well, it doesn't matter what Dillon Brooks says or said to me or what, Of course it doesn't. You're a patron. You're there to spectate and watch the game. And that's what should have happened. But for him to go on the floor like that, he should know better. I've heard him talk about it on his show several times.
They were pulling the clips of him but 2 years ago.
He said 2 years ago, he said it multiple times. Whenever anything happens like this, he comes up and says, "You're there to watch the game. It doesn't give you a right to yell at a player because you bought a $5,000 seat." He should take his own advice on that. And also, I just find it in weird taste for him to, I don't know if he had been drinking or what the situation was, but he needs to put himself in Dillon Brooks' shoes, right? He should know better than 99.9999999% of people that if a fan comes after you and says disrespectful things to you, you can respond. You feel like you could. It's okay for you to get back in that person's face, and for him to just get out of his character to do that in that situation, I thought was just poor taste.
Yeah, I don't have too much of an opinion on it. Honestly, I hate that all this kind of stuff gets so blown out of the water. Like it was every single tweet on what night was it? Friday night? Yeah, that was Friday night. Yeah. So every tweet Friday night and Saturday mornings about this, I'm like, this is so stupid.
And I
like, why is this like front page sports news?
What's bothersome too is like a journalist, as a talker, you're not supposed to make yourself the news. And like Shannon,
I agree with
fell short there. He did apologize. I still want to keep saying that he did apologize. And the last thing too, LeBron coming out and saying like on Instagram saying like, I'll always support Shannon. LeBron, you kick people out of arenas like 5 times a year because of things they say to you.
Right.
Like, I mean, like, I'm always going to be a LeBron fan. I like LeBron. But like, dude, I just think that's talking out of both sides of your mouth when you say, well, I'm always going to have his back.
Yeah.
Dude, you kick people out constantly for getting on you. And I don't know what they say. They may say worse things, but
yeah,
it's just sort of a, it just doesn't make sense.
Couldn't really care less, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But Shannon Sharpe is yoked out.
Oh,
it's
that
a
dude's
big
swole.
dude.
And by the way, everybody making their comments on his cardigan, on his little sweater.
Fire cardigan.
Thing was
I loved it.
Thing was icy. I don't know what people are talking about.
He might have needed like 2 sizes bigger though.
Yeah. No, he wants that tight stuff.
Oh, I know he does. I know
he benches 445 like 3 times. Okay, he's got to show it.
The real question though is, did Shannon Sharpe want that smoke with Steven Adams?
Well, Steven let the hair down.
Yeah.
Listen,
Probably
I think
not.
I don't know though. Shannon Sharpe. I don't know. Man.
Shannon can put up a fight.
Man, he's 54 years old.
It
bro.
doesn't matter.
I don't know.
Doesn't matter.
Steven Adams for Shannon Sharpe. If we're setting a line right now, I think because of size and because of length, I think Shannon would be like a plus 120, but it would be close. It'd be tight.
You think it'd be that
It'd
close?
be tight.
I was thinking like plus 250.
No,
it's gotta be plus 300, plus 350.
I mean, but who's slinging the fist better? I mean, I'd probably take Shannon. Like, Steven's probably got a slower swing. He's less compact, so you don't know if the punches mean just as much.
I don't know, but
I'd say plus 120.
I can tell you, we'll never know.
Plus 120 for Steven Adams, minus 150. Or no, not for Steven Adams. For Shannon Sharpe, minus 150 for Steven Adams. Take your pick.
There you go.
All right. At this point in the season, the Grizzlies are second in the Western Conference. I know Christian loves talking about NBA basketball. There's not a whole lot going on in sports, guys. Y'all spent 30 minutes talking about NFL. There's not much more to talk about.
No, Grizzlies pacing it right. Man.
Grizzlies are they're doing it right. They're second in the Western Conference. The whole talk though has been about, could the Grizzlies make a transaction in this trade window that's going on right now, that's just started, to basically cement themselves as a contender for the NBA championship? Do you, and we'll go to Gabe here because Christian doesn't really care.
I can speak on things.
Do you think the Grizzlies will make a move, and who should they go after? What player should they go after that would help them in this final push towards the playoffs?
Don't make a move just to make a move. So I'll say that right now. I think what they have right now is enough to go into playoff basketball, at least compete. I don't know if they can win a championship necessarily. We'll see, though. I think the seasoning from last year's playoff run helps them right this second. And I think defensively, they're locked in at a point that they weren't locked in last year. So I think their team's a little better built and more locked in on that end to be good come NBA playoffs.
Yeah, because
I'll say this
Go ahead.
real
Sorry.
quick. If we're talking about making a move, and I have said this for going on 2 years now, I think a guy like OG Anunoby would be just an unreasonably good fit. A guy who's not going to take as many shots as Dillon Brooks. He's going to lock in on the defensive end just like Dillon Brooks. He can switch. He can do all these different things, but he's just a more efficient offensive player. And if you have to give up Dillon Brooks in a first-round pick, you have 5 first-round picks that you could potentially move. If you can get a guy like that, I say take that shot, because internal development is great. You can sit here and you can make all these draft picks and develop them the right way, but I feel like we've been shown throughout the years that maybe making that one more trade, maybe pulling the trigger on that, being more aggressive on the open market can help you, at least in your championship aspirations.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think if they do make a move, because we know the way their roster is assembled and the talent that they have, how good they can be and how good they are. So I think if you do go make a move, you go make a a move for a better talent, if that makes sense. I don't think you just go get an old grizzled vet just for the playoff experience. I don't think you do that just to have another.
Don't give up assets for that.
No,
right?
Absolutely not. Don't go get someone just because they give you more playoff experience.
Well, they're about to get that back though, Christian. They're about to get Danny Green back.
Right.
Potentially.
But you know that's like always the narrative. Like if it's a younger team,
right.
go get the veteran, go get the the older guy. And they have a couple of those guys with Steven Adams and Danny Green that have playoff experience. And like you said, this team from themselves the last year, they're fine.
They're fine.
I think that's an overrated thing. Like you got to have this team full of veterans.
You don't have to
go
make a move, but I think if you have the right piece out there, piece is OG Ananobi. That's a guy who I would love to see them have. Go make that move.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
As long as it's not a ridiculous asking price.
If you make a move, make a splash. Is what I think.
So the final question about that is, who are the untouchables on the Grizzlies? Like you don't trade them right now.
Bane,
Jaren,
generally speaking, unless you got something. I'd say Jaren.
Something absurd, yeah.
I'd say Jaren, but the touchables,
everybody,
go ahead, figure it out.
Yeah.
I think Dylan Brooks is very touchable.
Yeah.
And and here's the thing about Dylan Brooks, a lot of people.
Okay, maybe don't say
pause.
Maybe don't say
big
that. Big
pause. But for Dylan Brooks, I feel like he is at times, if you see how the fan base talks about him, I feel like he's almost at times more respected outside of this market than he is in. What he does defensively night to night is not as appreciated because they see 4 for 17 and 4 for 20.
Agreed.
And I get that, but I think his value on the open market in a trade situation, what he would fetch as a free agent, I think you'd be surprised with how much people value him around the NBA.